Gemma and I are going to take you through the main body of today, which is this, to look towards creating a personalised pathway for people living with dementia. Our bit of the agenda is really just to run over what DCAN is, what personalised care is, and why today is important and why it matters, as an introduction to the activities that are going to come later. So why does personalised care, and today in particular, matter? Personalised care matters for people with dementia because they tell us it's what they want. If you're familiar with the dementia statements, a series of we statements about the expectations people with dementia have in terms of how people support and how they live their lives following a diagnosis. The majority of those are rooted in seeing me as a person, not as a condition. Treat me with respect, someone who can contribute, someone who has something to offer, somebody who needs to be listened to, understood, and supported to live life and make decisions as best they can. It's very clear that that runs through all the dementia statements, but it also runs through, I'm sure, the people that you know and the people in the room who have dementia. It will very much be what they expect too. It's also important because it's what any of us should expect to receive. There's nothing different about dementia and personalised care. Personalised care is a way of extending and opening up opportunities, ways of thinking and ways of living that everybody are entitled to and should expect and would expect to receive. The TLAC Making It Real statements of excellent articulation, and Martin Walker's here and Sally's here from TLAC, are an excellent expression of what personalised care feels like to individuals and how services and providers and systems should be responding to that. When I shared that with my family and my parents, because I was involved in the working group on that piece of work, all proud of this lovely document and these good sentiments, they liked the document, but they were absolutely amazed that isn't just what happens all normally. We aren't talking about anything unusual here. We're talking about making sure that labels, diagnosis, illnesses, challenges and barriers don't become so significant and so dominant that we forget about humanity and the people living with those challenges. It's important because everyone in this room who's involved in an organisation or a service, or even as a family member or an individual living with dementia, it's what all of us should be aspiring to deliver. It's about aspiring to make sure that our lives and the way we act and respond and connect and work and plan together is all around this focus. So this is what we should be aspiring to. It's also, luckily, what policy currently tells us we should all be doing anyway. So we're not fighting the system, we're not fighting government, we're not fighting documents, we're not fighting the NHS, because the NHS in the Long Term Plan, particular paragraph 1.20 talks specifically about dementia and the way that we're going to seek to transform the way the NHS supports people with dementia is through personalised care. This is understood and recognised as the way that we should be delivering our support and our services. And it's important because so often the system, organisations, services, individuals, families even, and people with dementia fail to live up to that promise. And that's not necessarily a criticism, it can just be a reflection of the way things currently are. And that presents a challenge. And it's a challenge that we can only ever going to fix if we come at it in a unified way, in a collaborative way, that we can actually bring together different perspectives, different roles, different ways of thinking and approaching dementia support to actually come up with ways round the challenges that people face. So just to recap, we have the dementia statements. People with dementia express their rights as human rights through personalisation terms. We have the Making It Real declaration, which expresses what that looks like in terms of translating that into services. We have human rights legislation that underpins that as a right for all of us. In social care, we have the Care Act with a focus on well-being principles that also reinforces the value and the importance and the urgency of having personalised support. We have the NHS Long Term Plan that gives us a vision for the next 10 years of the NHS and specifically tells us about personalised care's importance to improving dementia care. And we have the comprehensive model of personalised care, which gives us for the first time a plan, a way forward, a way of actually making some of these principles and intentions that have been talked about for many, many years become tangible and become real. And that's all with the support of the NHS leadership and also the current government. But we also know that's not the reality. We know that people with dementia and other members of society don't routinely experience the full benefits of personalised care. That isn't the lived experience of many people in this room, I'm sure. And the dominant narrative around social care and in terms of health is one of problems. It's one of lack of investment. It's one of barriers. It's one of a system that is responding to crisis and is in itself often described as being in crisis. So there's a challenge there, there's a problem there. Everybody's saying this is what we should be doing, but we know that there are very real and significant challenges that have to be addressed and have to be talked about and have to be overcome for us to make any real progress. There's a quote here, and this is a person from Barack Obama's team, but I think he's adapted it from a quote from Winston Churchill. And if everything's in a crisis, the important thing is not just to focus on the crisis. Don't focus on pointing out everything that's wrong, although that is clearly something that has to be part of the solution and part of what we build and work on and tackle. But we mustn't let a crisis go to waste, because what a crisis can mean, and if we do this right, what a crisis can mean is it gives us an opportunity to change things. And that doesn't mean just more money, and it doesn't just mean investment in a current system. It also gives us an opportunity to look again, take a step back, see, is this the best that we can do? And I think most of us here in this room, and a lot of people I know who aren't able to be here today, would feel very strongly that this isn't the best that we can do. So therefore, that is an opportunity. We need to start to flip things. So often, the difference between a dream and hope is action. So if we just rely on words, if we just rely on principles and just rely on sentiment, then that can make us feel good. It can make us feel as if we're doing something. It can make us feel as if we're acknowledging how people are feeling, how people are struggling, and it helps us feel as if we can begin to address those things and paint a different picture, paint a different vision for the future. But just words, that just becomes a dream. And dreams don't necessarily happen. What you need, combined with the dream, is hope. And you get hope from doing, and you get hope from actually taking action and making concrete steps, however small, towards a better vision, a better future. UPC, and why I'm excited about Universal Personalised Care in a way that I haven't been, having worked to try and influence policy towards personalisation for many years now, is that gives us a plan. It gives us a good solid foundation. It gives us 6 components, and all reflected on the tables here today, that can help us take those first few steps. I don't believe it will be a silver bullet. I don't believe in silver bullets. I don't believe it will solve every problem that everyone is going to experience or encounter, but I do believe it gives us a framework, and it gives us the best shot yet, I feel, and maybe the only shot that we're realistically going to get of really making inroads and making a real difference to dementia care. But as I say, a plan is never enough. So it's actually going to be down to us and people like us, who's not in this room, so I was ringing my own bell there, to act and to make it happen. And today is about the start of understanding, yes, what the vision is, but also what are the practical steps people across the dementia world and across wider society can begin to make through collaboration and working together. So I'm very conscious that there's lots of new faces. We did do a launch event in June. Some of these slides, if you were at the launch event in June, will be familiar to you. But I will also, because there's lots of new faces, I feel I need to rattle through so everyone's clear what DCAN is. So DCAN is a network, it's not a thing. I work for Alzheimer Society, other members of the DCAN group work for NHS England, Coalition for Collaborative Care. But all we are people who create opportunities for people to have conversations and begin to try and knit different things together. the value and the impact of DCAN is from the contribution of everybody. It's a network, it's not a thing. We have a common purpose, we have the UPC. We need to understand what the learning is from research, what the learning is from providers, what the learning is from carers, what the learning is from people living with dementia, system leaders, commissioners, think tanks. We need to begin to bring all that together into one place to create a cohesive and convincing vision of what this change can look like. So our purpose is to get universal personalised care working for all. So as a plan, it's for everybody. It's a comprehensive model for anyone living with a long-term condition. It's not just dementia. And obviously people with dementia also live with a range of other health conditions as well. So overall, the vision is to make personalised care the standard in the NHS. Our specific aim within DCAN is to get dementia into the heart of that thinking and planning and doing on personalised care and support across health, social care and the voluntary sector. But it's also to make sure that personalised, rights-based approaches are in the heart of all dementia policy thinking and practice as well. A lot of personalisation has come from the disability movement. Dementia has had a different way into this narrative, a different way into this debate, and we need to make sure that the distinction between personalisation and walking alongside people to help them live the life they want to live, the way they want to live it, is also understood, the differences to that towards delivering a person-centred care to a set menu of services as well. So we're going to focus on what matters. We're going to explore what the different interventions are that will help people achieve what matters to them. So UPC being 6 components, there may be other ways that we can make sure that people can focus on what matters. We're going to look at the enablers. How do we get those things happening? How do we get the system changing? And then we're going to look at what actions and relationships are going to be required to make those changes a reality for people. We're going to learn from everybody who's willing to take part and share their insight, share their reports, share their experience, share their stories. And we're going to make sure we take each step based on that knowledge, shared knowledge. And then we're going to go back up the staircase, build those relationships, take the actions, put in place the enablers and the interventions so that the system is more able and more open and more aware of the importance of focusing on what matters to people, not what's wrong with people. And that's not going to be one way for everybody. It's not going to be one way that works in every place in the country. So there's going to be the importance to make sure that those different approaches and the evidence and what works in different contexts is understood. So we'll need to make sure that evaluation happens at each step. In terms of the structure of DCAN, so you're all here today for the Assembly, so I know everybody's familiar with the Assembly. This is going to be a collaborative co-production space. Today is looking at the vision and the overall picture of personalised dementia care. There will be other opportunities that drill down further into different aspects of the changes that we need to see happen. It's going to be collaborative and it's a co-production space. So there are talks today, there are people on the stage sharing information and views, but the real work is going to happen on the tables and in the discussions and the work that happens following this event to tie all that together. It's going to be a robust exploration of issues and topics from a range of different perspectives, and one of the really pleasing things for today is just the range of interest from commissioners, from providers, from carers, from people with dementia. We've been very pleased and very successful in making sure that there is that robust and range of perspectives going to be heard. We're going to seek to improve decision-making, planning, create new opportunities for further collaboration as well. So the Assembly is where everyone comes together and we can have good conversations. But we're also going to organise the work around a series of different hubs focusing on specific areas of interest. So these are going to be special interest groups. It's going to enable us to do deep dive exploration of key themes. It will ensure that we can gather evidence, data and practice examples and stakeholders' views on those topics. So this is going to be where the real work, the engine of DCAN will operate. It will report back into DCAN Assembly meetings, and it will also feed directly into the NHS steering group around personalised care as well. It is going to be flexible and adaptable, so it's open to ideas, it's open to change from what we learn as we go along. And it will all be open and transparent. So we hope to benefit from your knowledge and work and insights. And if we're going to be taking that work into the discussions and into the process, it's only fair that that is open and transparent and free to everybody, because that's only through that way of collaborative working that we're going to make sure we all move along together and make sure we get those different perspectives understood. So very quickly, the hubs that we're setting up currently is one on vision, and today's assembly is tied to the vision hub. So what do we mean by personalised care? What impact can it have on people with dementia? How can we present a picture and paint a different view of what living with post-diagnosis of dementia can mean in a personalised vision of the future? The second hub is looking at voice, so making sure that we have that range of stakeholders and different perspectives heard. Obviously, that is going to be crucially important on making sure we get the lived experience voice of people living with dementia, a range of different dementias, different stages, and different communities as well as carers, but also professionals as well, because no one part of the system is going to make these changes happen. So we need to make sure that we have as a broad representation as possible, and that voice hub is going to be exploring what is already known about those different groups and stakeholders, but also practically how we're going to get those voices into the debate and conversation. The third one is looking at insights, what evidence, what data is there that we can draw upon that gives us a view and a picture of how things currently are. And Ewan from our campaigns team is going to share some of the experience of people with dementia that comes into our fixed dementia care campaign, which shows the size of the challenge more often than not. But also, we also expect there's going to be massive gaps in data and insights. We're going to also be looking at ways we might actually get that information into our learning. The fourth one is Community 360. So you may all be familiar with social prescribing and the importance of community arts activity. We had an excellent presentation from around the value of music, but also art, open spaces, sports and leisure, the importance of people, and tackling social isolation. Social prescribing is a massive part of the personalised care agenda. We want to make sure that that is open and accessible and understands the needs and preferences and benefits all that has on people with dementia. So we want to be very much at the heart of that thinking and planning going forwards. We're looking at choice and control. Within that, we're looking at person-centred care and support planning, but also how we make sure the professionals working in the health system know how to have conversations, able to ensure that people have maximum choice and control over the care, support, and also the lives that they wish to live. And finally, we're looking at the thorny issue of innovation and spread. So there's a tendency and a temptation that we find something that works in one place, then let's replicate that somewhere else, let's scale that up. Sometimes that works, more often than not it struggles and it doesn't. So we want to look at a lot of the good thinking and planning and work around that globally, looking at innovation and spread. We want to learn from that insight and research to make sure that scale where we can scale, but also what can be done by spreading ideas and principles and approaches so that things can grow organically, locally as well. I'm just going to hand over to Gemma, who's going to go and give you a quick overview and update on Universal Personalised Care.
Thank you. This will be super quick. We should have put really, really, really quick because, as you can see by the agenda, we're running a little bit behind. So I'm going to try and do this a little bit faster. I'm not going to go through this. Hopefully everybody will have seen Ian's mentioned the comprehensive model, just in case anybody hadn't seen the wonderful blue triangle. It is there, and happy for your facilitators on the table will be able to talk through this in a bit more detail if you've got further questions. But obviously this is the model that we've been talking about. This was launched, we're a year on now from the launch of the Long Term Plan, and following that we launched the documentation Universal Personalised Care, which was how are we going to implement personalised care over the next 5 to 10 years. So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about personalised care, the model, the framework. And like I say, your table facilitators can give you a bit more information on that. There's a couple of things that I just wanted to highlight from the work that we've been doing over the last year, where we really think actually there's some real areas here for us to look at embedding personalised care for dementia. And just to give you a couple of updates, and hopefully this might help with the conversations and the table conversations to spur on some thinking. So obviously we've had the long-term plan, and local systems have now submitted their long-term plans. And what we want to say is they're being reviewed now and they're being looked at. There's an opportunity for us to think, how can we influence that much better? How can we build dementia into some of that? So there's something for you to start thinking about. How do we get involved with our local systems around about embedding dementia into that work? Within that work as well, we've got there's a suite of metrics to measure the long-term plan. And we've been really lucky that we've got some metrics in there around personalised care interventions. So we've got 3 sets of metrics in there. One is around personalised care and support plans. So local systems are having to now report on the numbers of care and support plans completed and care and support plans reviewed, which is brilliant. So this is not just dementia, this is across a whole life cycle. So this is great because we're getting this into the forefront now. The second one is around social prescribing. So we're wanting to know the number of social prescribing referrals. So how many people are being referred into social prescribing. And also, obviously, there's been a lot of talk around the social prescribing link workers. So we're wanting to know how many of those are in situ and are employed locally. Again, so that we can build that evidence and find out if systems are really taking this and implementing it. And the third one is around personal health budgets. So local systems already report the numbers of personal health budgets, but actually this is something that we want to see about giving people much more greater choice and control and really scaling and spreading that. So local systems are having to look at this now and across there. So again, starting to think about our vision, how do we build dementia into all of this? A key area around this is around the development of primary care networks. They're still relatively new, they're being formed. They aren't going to solve everything. We've got to give them a chance to get going, get working. But actually, there's some real key areas that we're working with primary care networks around this. There is what is called the DES, is the nickname. Here we go with the jargon. This is the Directed Enhanced Service. So there's 5 national specifications that the primary care networks can work through. And personalised care is one of them. Now, they are published now, they're under consultation, but there's some real key areas around that. A big thing is that we're getting primary care to start really pushing personalised care and support plans to increase people's knowledge, confidence and skills, and how do we activate people in their health to self-manage better. Again, there's that link into the social prescribing, so how do we get primary care to increase those referrals into that? There's a big section around training that wider workforce in primary care. So the wider workforce, we're not just talking about general practitioners and doctors. We've got community pharmacists, nurses, healthcare assistants. We've got a big primary care workforce that we really need to start looking, how do we embed that training and skills there? And again, increasing that knowledge and options around personal health budgets. So there's the key areas around primary care networks. We've also got which will hopefully start to come out in 2021, is the Personalised Care Institute. So this is about how do we skill up that workforce around this, around embedding personalised care in the wonderful triangle, which it's great to have it up there in a triangle, a framework, but what does that actually mean to frontline staff and in practice? How can we get that to be business as usual and built into frontline staff's training? And then finally, because I am very, very quick, I probably would have talked a little bit more, but we'll speed it up. One of the key things that we're really focusing this year is embedding personalised care as business as usual into other pathways and programmes. Hence why we're here, I suppose. This is where some of the dementia work started around. How do we make, personalised care isn't something extra. It should be business as usual. It should be something that is there for everybody. And one of the ways that we've started to do that is work with internal stakeholders within NHS England, or the teams or the departments, particularly Claire in the dementia team here. We've done other work in cancer, so work very closely around aligning all the work and the programmes. And this is something that we're looking at other cohorts and other wider programmes such as Ageing Well, the Enhanced Health in Care Homes work. And obviously straight away we can see from those 2 programmes there's a huge synergy around dementia. So how do we start to bring all that together and really embed all of the work? And it's really important that not only do we work internally with stakeholders, but externally, hence why we're here, because actually it's no good just people sat in a darkened room thinking about this. We've got to be working with people with lived experience, with frontline clinicians to help us develop the vision, but actually not just the vision, the action. How do we take this forward? So we're just going to start through our business planning process now for next year. And one of the things that we're really keen to see is actually, how do we make this business as usual? And, there's a whole wealth of knowledge in the room today and thinking about our vision. And I just want you to start to think, if there's some real robust ideas of actually, this is how we can really embed personalised care and support planning for people with dementia, or this is where we think, we should be doing more social prescribing. You know, if there's some robust ideas, you know, we do have some resource. We're at that process now where we can start to think about that. There isn't an infinite pot. I'm not here with bags of cash, but, you know, we're here to be open to say, actually, this is something we want to do, and we want to be able to resource the work that we're doing. I'm going to cut it there because I'm really aware that we're very short of time. I could talk about this stuff for days on end. Even on my second day back, it's still coming back to me now. So I'll hand back to Jo now, but we will be around over lunch to ask any questions as well.
Thank you very much.